really appreciate it. This is our 13th show in a row, and so we're learning all about each other, and things have just been getting better and better, which is the plan. That is the plan. You start something, you're not sure how it goes, and then it doesn't work so great at first, and then it gets better and better and better. So here we are. I think it's our 4th month, I guess, and I really appreciate you guys tuning in every single Sunday. And as you know, we play Story Smash after the show, and that as well has been getting funnier and funnier, and it's going really well. Tonight, Blanca Patch is here, and Danny Zucker is here, and Felicia Michaels. All 3 of those guys will be judging tonight's Story Smash, and you can play too. That's what the exciting part is. It's an all play. Everybody can spin the wheel and tell a true 1-minute story, and then our judges will comment, and hilarity ensues, as you know. Anyway, you guys, I'm just going to give you a few more minutes to get into the room. I know some people are still gathering. It's very exciting. I'm not wearing a jumpsuit. This is a skirt and it's a dress. It's actually a dress. So if you were thinking that last week, if you were off on your black jumpsuit count, well, you don't count this one because it's a dress. Big news in my house this week. I gained 2 pounds because I got a new kitty. That's right. I rescued a tiny little baby kitten, and if you stick around for Story Smash, I'm going to bring that cat out, and I'm going to show you that baby kitty. It is adorable. And as you know, we've got a chat room or a chat column here or whatever to the right of your screen. Feel free to join the chat. I'll be putting in some websites and Twitter feeds and social media stuff. And as well, I'm hoping people can help me name this cat. Name this cat. Some suggestions have already come in. Brad Pitt. It's kind of funny. My daughter just wants to name it Hamilton, obviously. Cat Damon. That was a choice. And so you guys can also choose what you think I should name this cat. It is adorable. It's tiny. It has fleas and it's dehydrated. But the vet has done a great job and really made the kitty, they gave the kitty vitamins, gave the kitty antibiotics, and gave me the flea medication. And anyway, $700 later. I'm kidding. That's not true. I didn't spend $700 at a vet. What do you think? I'm nuts? No. You guys know Jackie Cation's joke, right? Jackie Cation has a joke about cats, just being disposable. Well, that's not exactly true around here. But the point is I have saved this kitty, and it is super sweet. So tell me what you think I should name the cat, and we will start the show right away. Okay, this is fun. We're here. Yay. All right, we're going to start the show right away. This guest has actually been here before, and she's been on the podcast a couple of times. She's just so funny, and she's just has been in the business for a couple of decades and just really works her butt off. She's got a podcast that she co-hosts called the Liars Club podcast. And I think I'm going to be on it this week, actually. So I'm excited about that. And she's also a regular at the Comedy Store. And, I think she's actually one of the original girls of the Comedy Store, they called her. She has performed absolutely everywhere in this country and abroad. And she also has a great stand-up special right now. And you can get it on Amazon Prime, I'm pretty sure, Amazon Prime. And it is called The Whole Story. The Whole Story, H-O-L-E. And it is damn funny. And as I understand it, she's going to be telling a story from that special tonight. So you guys, wherever you are in the country, please put your hands together, or in the world for that matter, put your hands together for Felicia Michaels.
Hello. How goes it? Okay, there we go. Okay. All right. Well, recently I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and there's this part in the beginning of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Brad Pitt goes back to his house, and he lives in a little trailer at the back of a drive-in movie theater. And you guys, it reminded me 100% of my father, okay? Because my dad looked exactly like a 1970s Brad Pitt. And my dad was also in the movie business, the movie theater business. So as a kid, I wasn't around my dad a lot, but the times that I was around my dad was around movie theaters. He had a drive-in movie theater that he owned, and he also worked at what was Mann's Chinese Theater here in Hollywood. So it was a really crazy time, because when my dad lived and owned the drive-in movie theater, it actually was, sorry, that's spam. It actually, they lived in a double wide trailer at the back of the movie theater, okay? And so I had an older brother that I wasn't raised with, who was 2 years older than me. So his job was that he was supposed to splice the reels together, because when a movie print came in, it usually came in 4 or 5 different reels. And so that was his job when he was 16. And he would smoke so much pot and he would splice the reels together. That was his job. And one time he was doing like a James Bond movie, and he spliced it together, but he was all stoned. And so my dad had this car, it was an old clunker that would sit at the back of the movie theater, the drive-in theater, because remember, it used to have these humps in the drive-in movie theater, and then you'd pull up and you'd put a speaker in your window, right? And so I was watching a James Bond movie that my brother had spliced together that afternoon. And so when you are watching it, it'd be like James Bond was like on a boat going down a river, like Donna, 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 Donna. And then story goes, and he's making out and making love with this woman. And in the middle of making love with this woman, it cuts off, and it's right back to him on the river on the boat, like Donna, 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 because my brother was so stoned, he mixed up the movie reels. So I have a lot of really wonderful memories of my dad around movie theaters. Like when my dad was a projectionist at the Mann's Chinese Theater, underneath the Mann's Chinese Theater was a lot of storage. And so their office was way deep in the bowels of the theater. And so as a kid, I got to run around like these crazy cavernous basements that just had nothing but shelving and shelving of like every fucking print since Mary Pickford films. So the point of my story was I wasn't around my dad a lot. And so the times that I was always around the film business. And I never thought about that since about my early 20s, until I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so this is what happened. Then I wasn't around my dad a lot. And when my mom, when I was about 15, she had a massive stroke, and I had to go stay with my dad. And so and this is about the time that he worked at the Mann's Chinese Theater. So I went to go stay with my dad, and it wasn't very good. And then after that, we didn't talk for a very, very long time, because I had fled like after 2 months, because it was such a crazy experience for me. And then I didn't talk to my dad for like 25 years, maybe every once in a while. Didn't see him though. One time I didn't see him for 8 years one time, and didn't talk to him for 8 years, but this went on for about 25 years. Every once in a while I would see him. And then my brother had a lot of problems, and my brother had a lot of emotional problems, but I was never really raised around my brother other than the couple of times around the movie theater business. So then my brother passed away after I hadn't talked to my dad for about 9 years. And I was really angry at my dad, because my dad did a lot of shitty things. He wasn't a good guy. He didn't pay child support. He married my mom's best friend. I was really angry at my dad. But then when my brother died, I was at my brother's funeral, and I saw my dad in the front row. I was in the back because I never felt a part of their family. And my dad was crying over the death of my brother. And it was a cry that was about guilt, about not having done the right thing for my brother necessarily, or for me. And it's in that moment that I completely forgave my dad. And it's at that moment where my stepmother and I decided, no more fights, no more aggravation. We're going to fix this. So then a few months later, I went to go visit my dad for the first time in Kansas. And in Kansas, I saw this piece of shit little house that literally cost $8,000. And I kept looking at it because I got divorced and I was all worried about money. And I was like, that could be the perfect little house to buy. It could be my, just in case everything goes to shit, old lady hidey hole. And I was thinking of buying the house, and I actually shared that with my dad on the first time that I went to go visit him. I was there for about a week and a half. At the end of the visit, I was like, hey, this house is like $8,000. And then my dad said, sister, I've never done anything for you your entire life. If you buy that house, I'm going to fix it up because I need to know that you'll always have a safe place to be. And so that's my story. The story is that I hadn't thought about my dad in that way, or thought about my dad until I saw that fucking Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie. And all these memories flooded back to me about the movie business. You know, that's my story.
Woo! All right, Felicia. Wow, that is intense. I'll tell you what, 8 years you didn't talk to your dad, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And this went on for like 25 years where I would talk to him like once and then I wouldn't see him for 3 years. But the longest time was 8 years. Yeah. But it's, you know, I thought a lot about as you have kids and you go through divorce or whatever traumatic experience you have with your kids, about how everyone thinks their parents should be grown up by the time they hit 30, and that we're all here to learn lessons continually in our lives. And for my dad, at the end of his life, he became this amazing guy, and people do change all the time. Anyway.
So sweet. I love that. That is so, so sweet. Really. I believe that too, Felicia. I mean, parents are people too. And it's about to realize it, you know?
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing that,
You're
Felicia.
welcome.
All right, you guys, we're going to keep moving along. That was amazing. And right now, we are going to bring up a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in so long, and I'm so happy he's here. He's part of the married couple on the show tonight. His wife is coming up a little later. I don't know if they're using, no, they're not using the same computer. They're using different computers, so you don't even know it. No, she's not in the bathroom. That's not her. Anyway, she'll be here in a little bit. But this guy, what a great guy. One of the things I love about him is that he co-produces a storytelling show here in LA with his wife. It's called Story Salon, and it really does very well. It's been going so long. In fact, it is the largest or the longest running storytelling show in Los Angeles. So that's fantastic. This guy, you guys, he's a comedian and a writer and an actor, voiceover artist. Somebody recently told me that they're not just voiceover artists, they're actors. It's true, they're acting. He's also got extensive experience co-hosting and co-producing radio shows here in LA. He hosts and produced This Week in TV History, and he also has a segment on TV Confidential, which is a radio talk show about television. This guy loved television so much growing up. You can find him at his social media at Child of Television. I think it's abbreviated. I'm going to show it to you, and I'll share it with you in just a minute. Anyway, you guys, he's a great guy. I'm super glad he's here. Please put your hands together for my friend Tony Figueroa.
All right, great. And it's funny, we were just talking about the Liars Club game show from the 1970s, one of the many 70s game shows where all the panelists were drunk, which made the show more entertaining. So anyway, here's my story. My wife and I have been to New York several times in the last couple of years, and every time that we are in the city, I always want to go downtown to Battery Park. And I do that because I want to see the Statue of Liberty. I just want to look at her. And I have a very understanding wife. She will say, I know you want to see your girlfriend. I'll leave you two alone. And I've always had this love or fascination with the Statue of Liberty ever since I was really, really small. I remember seeing black and white photos of her in newspapers and magazines. And then I saw a commercial, a TV commercial, I don't know what for, but there's a mom, a dad, a little kid, and they're going up this spiral staircase. And the little boy's going, come on, Dad. And then they're looking out these windows. And then the next shot is Liberty's face and the family's looking out through the windows in the crown. And my mind was blown. I didn't realize that you could actually climb inside this. This was better than my friend Wade's treehouse. I really wanted to see this, and I knew someday I was going to go see this. Now, a couple of years later, my grandparents take me from Defiance, Ohio to the Toledo airport. I meet my dad there, and he's going to take me on a flight to Puerto Rico. Now, we change planes in JFK. As we are changing planes, or as we are ready to land, my dad tells me to look out the window, and I see the Statue of Liberty. And I see that she's green because I've only seen her in black and white photos. I always assumed she was a statue made out of cement or something. And, I was just, again, blown away. I didn't realize she was on this little island, and I knew someday I was going to go see her. And then a couple years later, I was living in LA with my mom. My dad's living in Puerto Rico. I go to Puerto Rico for the summer, and first day that we get there, we go to the drugstore and we get these photographs from a trip. And I see the photos are of the Statue of Liberty. And I said, why couldn't I go on this trip? Well, because the school year in LA would end in June and the school year in Puerto Rico would end in May. And May was the only time my dad could do the vacation. So I didn't get to go. I was horribly upset, but I was told someday I would be able to go. And when I was 19, my family had relocated to Bath, New York in upstate near the Finger Lakes. I'm living in California. I spend $99. I get a flight on People's Express that takes you from $99 to Newark, LA to Newark, 99 bucks, then 20 more bucks gets you to Rochester. As we are ready to land in Newark, I look out the window. There she is. But this time she's covered in this scaffolding all around. It's this scaffolding. And it was going to be like this for a couple of years for the refurbishment, but I knew someday I was going to go get to see her. Okay. Someday did not happen into 2017. So it did not happen until 2017. I was having a bad day, and I told my wife I wanted to take a vacation. She wanted to go to San Francisco. I said, no, we've been there. I want to go to New York. I want an adventure. And so we booked the flight. And once the flight and the hotel was booked, I go online and I book the trip to Liberty Island. So you book the ferry, and you can book a tour of the pedestal, and you can book the crown. So 3 different bookings. I could not book the crown. The crown was already full up for the next 6 months, but at least I could book the pedestal. We arrive in New York, we take the subway, we go downtown, and we get off, we walk to Battery Park, and I'm asking my wife, where is she? And she points in a certain direction, and there she is. I finally get to see her. And it was a rainy, foggy day. And I'm slowly seeing Liberty fade away into the fog. She was slowly disappearing. Liberty is fading away. And I asked my wife, is this a metaphor? And we get on the ferry. And as we get closer and closer to Liberty Island, the clouds open up, the rain stops, and I could see her very clearly, not just capturing, the view, but it just really hit me that I am looking at her on a boat, the way that so many immigrants saw her when they arrived to America. And I mean, it was really impactful about what she meant to all those immigrants when they came over to see her for the first time. And we land on the island. We walk past this huge sign announcing a new museum that will be opening up very soon. We go into the pedestal. We have to go through airport security type setup. So airport security setup for the ferry, airport security setup to get into the pedestal. When we get inside the pedestal, the first thing I see is the original flame. And I was blown away. Now, I had done a show at Universal Studios called The World of Cinemagic. It was a special effects show. And part of that show was where we recreated the scene in the movie Saboteur, Alfred Hitchcock's first American film. And you have Robert Cummings trying to keep Norman Lloyd from falling off the torch. And he eventually falls to his death. I actually met Norman Lloyd when we opened the attraction, which was Cool enough, but I digress. So anyway, I had been, my part of the show is being on top of the torch. So now I'm seeing the real thing up close. I move a little further, there's a replica of Liberty's face, and it's done to scale in copper. You can look right at it. I study that for a little bit. I move on, there's a replica of Liberty's toes, and it's full of other equipment, tools, and showing the technique of how they would hammer the copper into the appropriate shapes for the statue. So I'm studying the toes. I look back at Liberty's face, and there's this woman trying to get her head in Liberty's nostril. Her nostril, by the way, is about the size of an American football. And I move on, and I'm looking at all the stuff that features Bartoli, who was the artist, and Eiffel, who designed the skeleton that the statue is wrapped around. And I'm looking at all the nuts and bolts of what makes this incredible combination of art and engineering. But my wife is further ahead, and she's much more focused on the area that's dedicated to the immigrant story. So I think it's funny that, as a guy, I'm looking at what liberty is made of, and she's looking at what liberty means. And we kind of get back together right at the plaque where they have Emma Lazarus's poem called The New Colossus. Everyone knows part of it. Give us, you're tired, you're poor. So we study that. And then it's time to go out to the observation deck on the pedestal. Now, to get there, we go up some stairs, and then we could see it. We could look straight up, and we could look right up into the statue. We could see all the engineering, all the marble. But there is this glass that is like a protective glass that separates us from the actual statue. So we're in the pedestal looking through this glass right up at the statue, and it occurred to me that this famous immigrant woman is standing above a glass ceiling. And I asked, is this a metaphor? And then we go out to the observation deck on the pedestal, and we're walking around, and I'm trying to get photos of Liberty and photos of Manhattan. And there's a guy, he's like an arm length away from me, and he has his phone, and he's on Skype, and he's looking at the phone, and I could hear him go, "Hey, guess where I am? I'm at the Statue of Frickin' Liberty." And I just thought, I love New York. We finish out the trip. I got to see Liberty. I have proof. We're on the plane heading back to Los Angeles. And once again, I can see her through the window. We're taking off. Only this time I wasn't saying someday. I was saying until we meet again, because I do want to go up to that crown. But there's an epilogue. About a year and a half after this trip, my mother dies. And you got to do what you got to do. You got to go in, you got to go through all the documents, the paperwork, and amongst canceled checks and doctor bills and an envelope full of my baby teeth, I find a postcard. This is the postcard. It was addressed to me in Defiance, Ohio, when I was 3 years old. I don't remember seeing this postcard. I was 3, so I don't remember ever seeing this before. So in the middle of all of this, grief and sadness and looking through everything, I find a postcard with Lady Liberty on it, addressed to me, and it says, "Hi, Tony. How do you like this great big lady? Love, Mommy." How do I like her? Well, Mom, I like her a lot because, after all, she is my girlfriend.
That was really wow, Tony Figueroa. That's a sweet story. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I have visited that statue, but I've never gone up either. Or
I was happy just to see what I could see.
Yeah, I bet.
I was thrilled.
That's very cool, man. Really a nice story. Thanks, Tony. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
You're around and play Story Smash, right?
Yes, I will.
Great, because I call on you guys first, so I appreciate it. And also, great. I love thinking about you and the whole television thing, because I mean, I grew up on television as well, but you have a memory that I just can't believe. You know it all.
Well, speaking of my memory, we were supposed to have this thing that anytime we saw each other, we were going to shout F Troop.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow, good memory. F-Troop.
F Troop.
All right, Tony Figueroa, thank you guys so much. All right, you guys, I am, some names are coming in for the cat. So again, keep your choices coming in. Someone recently mentioned I should call her COVID. Someone mentioned Scott, what's the guy's name oh, Michael Scott. Yeah, Michael Scott, someone mentioned that. And anyway, we'll see. You guys, over the last 12 weeks, I've told 12 stories, and this is sort of right in the line of, this is like in the order. I've been going in order. I don't know if you realize that, but I have been. And tonight's story is when I first got to Los Angeles. And when I first got to LA, I found myself a courtyard apartment here in Los Feliz, California. And it's so funny because my best friend lived below me, and she's still my best friend of 23 years. It'll be 23 years in August, and we share the same birthday. So anyway, I picked a good apartment. That's my point. I picked a pretty good apartment. It was a 1 bedroom for $460 a month, and I got my first job selling tours of the movie stars' homes. So I would be working in front of the Mann's Chinese Theater in back of the forecourt, you know, where the hands and footprints are. And I'd be in this little kiosk, and I'd have a headset around my head, and my voice would be amplified down Hollywood Boulevard. Welcome to Hollywood. Hop aboard a Starline tour. We'll take you to Beverly Hills, Holmby Hills, Bel Air, and Rodeo Drive. We'll take you to see all your favorite celebrities' homes, the living and the dead. Well, mostly the dead. You see, stars now live in Malibu. And anyway, I worked there for about 6 months. And one day while I was there in my little booth, I was reading the LA Weekly, and an ad caught my eye. They were looking for outgoing, sparkling personalities to be on The Dating Game. Yeah, The Dating Game, you guys. Remember the game show? Tony, you know. The Dating Game. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, wait a second. I have a sparkling personality. And Suzanne Summers and Farrah Fawcett and Ron Howard and Henry Winkler and so many people, Arnold Schwarzenegger, they all got their start on The Dating Game. Honestly, that's where they were discovered. That would be my big break too. I had to go. So I went to the open house at the Sunset Gower lot where they shoot The Dating Game. There were a lot of girls there, probably 60 girls. And everybody said the same thing. We had to introduce ourselves, and everybody just said, you know, hi, I like to party, and I like to go out, and I love to have parties, and it's so fun to go out and hang out. And everybody was pretty boring. And anyway, then it was my time, and I just told them the truth. I said, I was a flight attendant for 7 years, and I just got back from the Peace Corps. And anyway, you know, I felt like I got some attention. Now, here's what you need to know. During this open house, I was wearing a long blonde wig, because if you've been watching the show recently, you know that at this juncture in my life, I had just finished chemotherapy. So I had very little hair, like maybe the outline of hair, you know, there was no hair. So I had that wig on. So I kind of kick ass at the audition, and sure enough, that night, a producer from The Dating Game named Jackie, she calls me and she says, Christine, you were fabulous. We just loved you so much. You were great. But why were you in disguise? Oh, I didn't know it was that obvious. I thought I had a good wig. I just told her the truth. I told her I recently finished getting through cancer. I was healthy, but I had to do the chemo, and you know, I had no hair. And she said, well, we really want you on the show. Can you come in to the office tomorrow so I can see you? And I thought, well, you know, she must know what she's talking about. You know, she must know. And besides, they could put a different wig on me, you know? This is going to be my big break. Maybe all they need is my sparkling personality. So the next day, I go to the Sunset Gower lot again, and this time there is a drive-on pass waiting for me, so I get to drive on the lot. They show me where the stage is again, and a receptionist leads me back to Jackie's office. Jackie says, take off your baseball cap. So, like, I'm totally embarrassed, but obviously this is Hollywood, and this is what I got to do. So I take off my hat, and she says, oh, you're fine. You're cute, Christine. That's fine. We'd love to have you on the show, but you know, you can't wear that wig. And then I say, okay, you know, because this is my break. So the next week, I am back on the Sunset Gower lot, and now I am wearing black hip huggers and a tiger printed tank top and no wig. So I drive onto the lot and I park in the space and I get there, and as soon as Jackie sees me, the producer, she runs right up to me and she's like, oh gosh, Christine, I'm so glad you're here. Oh, you look so beautiful. Here, I have a little clip for you here. And she puts this little Velcro Brett in my hair. Like she just like stuck it there. I looked like, it was ridiculous. I mean, I looked like it was like a 4 or 6-month-old baby. It was a baby Brett. And there I am. So I have to go backstage, of course, and there are 5 shows that are taping that day. I'm on the last show to tape, so it's going to be a long day. I immediately meet my the bachelorettes. I meet bachelorette number 1, who immediately tells me that she likes my haircut, and then she tells me she's a lesbian, and then she's kind of like hitting on me. And she's super sweet, but I think I can beat her. Then bachelorette number 3, she was super sweet and beautiful, and she was a cheerleader at US Santa Barbara, and she had this long mahogany hair, and she was wearing this little blue number, and it had feathers on it. Feathers. I would have picked her in a minute. She was gorgeous. So we have to sit backstage all day, like I said, waiting for the 5th show to tape. And at one point, I saw the host, Chuck Woolery, in the hallway, and I was so excited because this was my first celebrity sighting. So I said, Chuck, hey, Chuck, you are so great. I watch your shows all the time. I think you're so great. I'm really excited to be here. Hey, you know, great, thanks, Chuck. He didn't look at me. He didn't turn to me. He didn't do anything but look straight down, and he kept moving, and he said, God damn it, we're late again. So finally, it is our turn to start taping. Now, if you guys remember, I know, Tony, you remember, if everybody else out there remembers, there were 3 stools that the Bachelorette sat on. 3 stools. I'm in the middle. Then there's a partition that's separating the contestants from the Bachelor. So he can't see us, and we can't see him. And this is going to work to my advantage. The game starts. The audience is strung out on that warm-up candy. You know, they give them candy all day to keep them up. They're like strung out on sugar, and they are just practically dead. They're not doing well at all. I, however, am killing it. I am funny, and I am on, and when the Bachelor says, Bachelorette number 2, question, we're on a date, and you're a cat, what kind of sound would you make? And I'm in my tiger print tank top, and I go, rawr! And everybody starts clapping, and it was on, and I was so excited. By the very first break, I knew I'd won. In fact, both girls turned to me, Bachelor number 1 and Bachelor number 2 turned to me, and they both said, oh, you so won. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So finally, the game is over, and it's time for him to choose. And yes, of course he chose me, Bachelorette number 2. So now the other girls go out before me, right? They announce the Bachelor number 1, then they announce Bachelor number 2. Then they announce the Bachelor, and they say, get ready, Christine, because here he comes. Jeff is a sports fanatic who lives at the beach and loves sports. Yes, you mentioned that. Come on out, Bachelor number 2. And now I turn the corner, and I see him, and he's like so good looking. He looks like Sting, like back then Sting. I almost died, and I'm thinking he's probably so pissed right now because he just saw that cheerleader, and here I am, bald with a baby ribbon stuck to my head. but he's really sweet, and he takes my hand, he kind of gives me a little hug, and then Chuck Woolery says, "Get ready, Jeff and Christine, because you're going to Tucson, Arizona." And now I'm pissed. I mean, first I get cancer, and now I got to go to Tucson? Finally, the show is completely over. We throw the kiss to the air. The music is off. The lights are turned off. The audience is streaming out, and Chuck Woolery is running to his car. They make Jeff and I sign something quickly, and they push us out the back entrance of Sunset Gower Studio, which is on Sunset Boulevard. And Jeff and I are just looking at each other like, "Hi, how's it going?" It was just like ridiculous. And then he says, "Hey, do you want to go over to Denny's across the street?" And I don't know if you've been to Denny's at Gower Gulch, but I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go to Denny's." So we go to Denny's. It was, I was excited. Here I am sitting across from a guy in a restaurant having a meal, and he doesn't even seem to notice that I'm bald. And he's super sweet. And he tells me about himself, and he's a lawyer, he lives at the beach, and he's really, really cute. And he even asks me if I'll go down to his place. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I'll come to your place. So I follow him in my Toyota Celica all the way down to Redondo Beach, which to me was far, and it is about an hour. So I get to his apartment, and then he and I start getting along very well, if you know what I mean. And we're making out, and it had been a long time, you guys. I hadn't been with anybody in a long time. And at one point, he's like running his hands across my scalp, and then he stops. And he goes, "Wait a minute, I want to tell you something." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "It's about my relationship." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's okay. I just went on the show as a joke, and I'm bald, and it's okay." And he goes, "Oh, no, it's about my relationship with Christ." Oh, interesting. I don't have that. Can I get another glass of wine? Or maybe a bottle? So I continue having another drink, and I fell asleep there. And when I wake up in the morning, he is not in the bed with me. And I tiptoe out to the living room, and he is there in a recliner, curled up, sleeping with a Bible in his lap. And I just think, maybe this really isn't going to be the guy for me, even though he's a super good kisser and he lives at the beach and has a job. I left the apartment quietly, and guess what? Here's the upshot. Jeff and I stayed good friends. We became really good friends. We went out all the time together and just hung out. And in fact, we're still really good friends. And we talk to each other at least once a month. He lives in Phoenix now. And, I look back, and I'm so glad I won, because you know what? In some way, I did get my first break, and my biggest break in Los Angeles, meeting a lifelong friend. Yay! I won the dating game. Anyway, there you go, you guys. That's my intro to LA story. It was such a good memory. It really is. It really is. Now Chuck Woolery is like off the handle and out of his mind. But he was then too. I can confirm that. He was then. Anyway, you guys, super glad you joined us again. I'm so glad you're all here. Thank you so much. Don't forget to put in the chat what you think I should name the cat. And don't forget to stick around for Story Smash. It's got 2 more storytellers, and then we're playing Story Smash with Danny Zucker and Blanket Patch. You got to stick around. It is hilarious. All right, you guys. She's coming up right now. Donna Allen. She is an actress, and I mean like a real actress, okay? Like a real actress. She has a BA in acting from Emerson College, and she also studied with Second City and the Webber Douglas Academy of Dramatic Art. She is also a storyteller, a story salon, which she co-hosts with her husband. She's a member of SAG. She loves to shop, and she has 3 cats. Let's ask her about that. All right, you guys, wherever you are. Oh, wait, one more thing. She has an original solo show. I knew this. The Legend of Evie Everhart. That's right. The Legend of Evie Everhart. And you also recently did your voice on the audiobook, The Promise of Change, which is a civil rights memoir. Awesome. All right, you guys, please welcome my friend, Donna Allen.
Hi, so diamonds, daisies, snowflakes, that girl was my favorite show growing up. ABC 1966 to 1971. It was a story of Amber, played by Marlo Thomas. She's a small town girl who moves to the big city to become an actress. Even as a kid, I related to that. I mean, this was my future story. I loved everything about it. I mean, Anne had an adorable apartment. She had great clothes. She had the perfect all-American boyfriend. But the best part, she lived in New York City. New York. I was in love with New York forever. I kind of felt it was a weird twist of fate that I was born and living in Cincinnati, Ohio. I guess I'd seen New York on television. Maybe I'd seen it in movies, but I wanted to be there. I was kind of a weird kid. I mean, you'd ask kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse. I wanted to be a New Yorker. My parents hated big cities, hated them. So we would vacation in quaint towns. One year, I think I was 7, we went to Connecticut. But on the way back, my parents felt that we should see New York. So New York was everything I imagined it could be and more. I remember a trip to the top of the Empire State Building. I remember going to Radio City to see the Rockettes perform. We went to the Statue of Liberty. The coolest thing for me at age 7 was riding the subway. I mean, I knew that there were trains that went underground, and seeing it in person was amazing. Well, I wouldn't get back to New York for a few more years. I was 12, and I learned the horrible truth. Oh, yes. My parents not only did Massachusetts this time. We were going to spend 2 days in the city on our way back to Ohio. Thing I remember about that trip was seeing the musical 2 by 2 that starred Danny Kaye and Madeline Kahn. I also remember at 3:30 the next morning, my father woke us up. He'd had it with New York. It was too big, too fast, too expensive. We're out of here. I was very upset. I remember sitting in the back seat of our car as we drove out of Manhattan. I swear, there were tears in my eyes when we reached the Holland Tunnel, meaning we were out of New York. But somewhere in the back of my head, it was like I was hearing the city. You'll be back. Don't worry. I'll do pizza. Got back when I was 15, but when I finally had New York on my own tour city for college, but they did let me go to a summer program at Circle in the Square. I was in heaven. I was an acting student. I was in New York. I was going to dance classes. I was going to the theater. I got to know the city and the city got to know me. And I think that really began my love affair with the city. I was crying when I had to get on a plane to go back to Cincinnati when the program was over. But hey, I'd be graduating in a few years and I would be back. Flash forward a few years later, I'm in Boston getting ready to graduate from Emerson College. I want to go to New York. I have no prospects. I have no plan. And fate stepped in. I got an offer for a professional theater company in Chicago. Okay, so I'm going in the wrong direction, but Chicago was a good experience for me. It was a great place to start a career. I learned the business of the business. I worked with an agent for the first time. I got my union cards. I built up the resume. 2.5 years later, I'm ready. I'm going to New York. I started subscribing to New York trains. I took a class for Chicago actors who were relocating to New York. I planned a trip at the end of the year to look at neighborhoods, to find employment prospects. And fate stepped in again. A friend of a friend was in the industry in Los Angeles. Now, when my friend first told me this, I thought, what is he, like a theater manager in Los Angeles, like a movie theater manager? This was pre-internet. So I got this guy's name and his company, and my reference librarian at the library told me that this person was legit. A few weeks later, I had dinner with my friend and his friend. My friend had told me to bring a picture and resume, which I thought was kind of tacky, but I did it. And he gave it to her. I thought, okay, nice afternoon, the end. 2 weeks later, he calls me. Friend of mine, casting director, there's a role. You're right for it. Forget about the first audition. Come out for the callback. Can you be here in 3 weeks? And I did the craziest thing I've ever done in my life. 3 weeks later, I was landing at LAX. I had moved to Los Angeles permanently. I just left Chicago. I was upset about standing up in New York. I mean, we've had a standing date all these years, and I thought the city would be mad at me. I felt like I was cheating on the city, but I was here. I didn't get the role I auditioned for, but I did get a role on a soap opera. So I stayed, and life in LA was good. I met Tony, we got married. He introduced me to San Francisco. We go up there once or twice a year. We were planning a trip in 2017, or I was planning a trip, and he tells me, I don't want to go to San Francisco. I want to go to New York. I'd never been there. I need adventure. I'd heard the city wasn't the same as it was when I left there years ago. I mean, what I know the city, would the city know me? 6 weeks later, we land at JFK, and I'm anxious. I'm nervous. I'm shaking. We took a car into the city, and I saw the skyline. Oh, my God, there it is. We went through the Midtown Tunnel. When we came out, I relaxed. And I swear, the city was like, took you long enough? Welcome home. It was the most amazing week of theater and sightseeing. My husband got to meet his girlfriend, the Statue of Liberty, finally. I taught my husband how to use the New York City subway. The day before we came back, he said, you know, I could see myself living here. What? On our way to the airport the next day, the driver told us about his own New York journey and said, the two of you will be back. New York always needs more New Yorkers. You're going to move here. And on our cross-country flight, we actually talked about relocating. Well, since then, we've made several trips, business and pleasure. Maybe we won't move there permanently, but certainly we could be bi-coastal. We were there in December. It's nothing like Christmas in New York. And then we were supposed to be there in May. The world turned upside down. Fate. Nobody's going anywhere for a while. This Tuesday, I was taking a solo trip to New York, making the first few steps to become truly bi-coastal, meetings with industry people. I'll be here. I know we'll make it back one day. I know the city will welcome me with open arms, but I miss it. Diamonds, daisies, snowflakes, that city. Thank you.
Wow. That was so great, Donna. Oh my gosh, we watched that girl like nobody's business. I thought my sister Lisa was gonna become her.
Oh, no.
Like I loved it so much. Like I thought that was my sister Lisa, and then my other sister I thought was Tyler.
Two powerhouses of women in television. In fact, two trailblazers in history.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. Hey Donna, remember when you were on Storyworthy and then you shared that story about Dream Girls?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Can you recap that a minute? Can you just tell her? It's so funny.
Actually, this is one of my Chicago stories. The original national tour of Dreamgirls had auditions in Chicago, and my agent at the time was excited. She'd gotten me an audition, and auditions were hard to come by for this. And I had seen the casting notices, and I knew I was too short. The height requirement for the ensemble women was 5'6". I am barely 5'3", which means I'm 5'2". And she convinced me to go anyway. So I had a friend who was a costumer. He helped me get an outfit. I was in 4-inch heels, and he teased my hair, and it was up real high. And I got through both of my songs on the stage of the Schubert Theater, and I'm like, damn it, I want this, I want this, I want this.
Oh yeah.
And I finished my song, and nobody said anything. Nobody said thank you or stay to dance. Nobody said anything. And I could hear whispering. And finally they asked the accompanist to come stand next to me. And she was really short. And then they asked me to take off a shoe. So I took off a shoe and I stood on the other foot in my heel and Miss Allen, your other shoe, please. And I was outed as a short woman. Yeah, I felt it was a very that girl moment.
Yeah, that is.
And by the way, National Tour of Dreamgirls, they closed like a couple of months into the tour. It was too expensive. I would like to think it was because they didn't hire me.
I'm sure that was it. Oh, that's awesome. I've never met anybody that even auditioned for something like that. I think it's fabulous.
Great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah. We have one more storyteller tonight, you guys, and then we're going to start Smash. Danny Zucker's in the house. Blanket Patch is here. It's going to be a blast, and it's an all play, so everybody can play the game. But let's wrap it up right now with a really good friend of mine. I've known him over 20 years, and he's a fabulous comedian. He's also a writer, and he's one of those comics who has toured all over the world. He has toured in 6 different countries, and he's appeared on Comedy Central's At Midnight, and also at Laughs for Life Telethon. His full-length comedy album, which I love, it's called Rusty Cow, and that reached the very top of the charts, and it can be heard regularly on Sirius XM on their comedian channel. And also you can get it, of course, over on iTunes. Find Murray, you guys, his podcast called Road Stories. He talks all about and talks to all comedians from all over the place about being on the road. It's on the All Things Comedy Network, which USA called this podcast one of the funniest podcasts of the year. Holy cow. All right, you guys, put your hands together wherever you are for my friend Murray Valeriano. There he is. Yay. Great. You're on, brother.
Although, while I figure this out, I want to say I loved the stories I heard today, man. I especially they're touching, they're funny. I especially love the ones from New York. I grew up outside New York in New Jersey, so I used to my dates in high school were taking the Staten Island ferry from Battery Park to Staten Island and coming back, and it was at night, and we could see the Statue of Liberty, and it was only like 50 cents, so it was super cheap and super romantic. Anyway, so today I'm not going to so much tell a story as I am tell a cautionary tale, and that tale is don't mess with pirates. Don't mess with pirates. I just moved to California. I moved to Los Angeles, and I was like everybody else, just broke. I had no job. I lived in my car for a little while. I was just I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just left school. I just wanted to move to California. So I moved to California, scrapped together a couple bucks here and there, and I'm able to rent a room from these guys out in the valley. I'm able to rent a small room for these guys out in the valley, and these guys are like 3 guys. They're all the same age, early 20s. This is the early 90s. They were professional extras, so they had no aspirations of being actors or working in the film business. They just, I think one of their mothers was an extras casting or somebody. So they just, when they had the day off and they needed somebody, they just smoke a big joint, go stand in the back of, I don't know what it was in the night, Forrest Gump or Waterworld or whatever, and then just eat the food and leave and make $100. It was a great gig for those guys in their 20s. While a couple of them were still in school, a couple of them were out. So I'm living with these guys, and one day I wake up and like, hey, Murr, there's a big concert scene being shot down at USC. They need a bunch of rock and rollers to stand in the background. There's like 1,000 people. It's only 4 hours. It's $100. We'll bring a flask. We'll hang out, we'll eat lunch with them. I heard $100. I'm like, I'm in. Let's do this. I am in. I'm going to do this. So he's like, all right, the shoot's at night. So my buddy Oberon is picking us up at like 6. So be ready at 6. I'm like, all right. I'm like, Oberon, what kind of name is Oberon? And he's like, oh, that's my buddy. He's a pirate. I'm like, what do you mean he's a pirate? He's like, oh, he's got a boat. He sails around Catalina Island. He does shows, pirate shows for everybody. He does pirates and movies and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. This guy dresses up like a pirate sometimes and puts on pirate shows. That's pretty impressive. That's cool. So we hang out all night, and then around 5 or 6 o'clock rolls around. There's a knock on my door. I open it, and there's Oberon. And he's a fucking pirate. This guy isn't a guy who just dresses up on the weekends and entertains children's party. This guy, 6'4", black hair, black beard, pirate, golden earrings, puffy shirt, vest, knee-high boots. this guy's a fucking pirate. And so he's like, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's get out of here. I'm driving. Let's go down to USC. We're shooting this thing down at USC. So I'm like, all right, Oberon's driving. So we hop in cars. And by the way, if you want to know what a pirate drives, Chevy Nova. So we hop in Oberon's Chevy Nova, or the SS Chevy Nova, whatever you want to call it. He's driving. My friend Andy's in the front seat. Me and my friend Sean are in the back seat, or that'd be the stern, I think, or the stern, right? We're in the back of the thing. And remember, this is the early 90s. And so this movie's being shot at USC. Now, USC, the University of Southern California, very big school, very famous school. I think George Lucas gave it like $260 million for its film school. It's a quality school, but it's smack dab in the middle of the hood. It's especially, remember, this is the early 90s. So there is a lot of gang activity still going on. Los Angeles isn't nearly as safe as it is now, which who knows how safe it is now, but there's still a lot of, you just didn't go to South Central very often, but that's where they were shooting. So we hightail it down to South Central, and we get lost. This is before phones. This is before GPS. We don't know where. We figured we could find USC. No, you can't find USC. It's a giant college. Can't find it anywhere. So we're just tooling around South Central. It's getting dark. It's getting black. We're supposed to be there at like 8. It's like 8:30. It's dark. We like look for a payphone to find a payphone so he can call his mom or sister or whoever's doing the casting, and we can't find a payphone, and we're just getting all frustrated and pissed. And then finally Oberon's just like, you know what, man, we got some booze, we got some weed. Let's just head home and, get loaded. And I'm like, I'm down for that. So he bangs the Yui, he turns around, he comes up to a stop sign, and just then this car comes whipping around the corners and pops the front of Oberon's Chevy, the SS Chevy Nova. It just pops it right in the front. Like, what the hell was that? So Oberon freaks out. He's like, what is going on? The car like backs up from us. It's pitch black. It's staring right at us like, Christine or what's that Stephen King movie with the trucks, Maximum Overdrive, just like staring at us. And Oberon gets out of the car.
Hey, Murray, hang on, man. We can't hear you, dude. Can you go back about 2 minutes, please, if possible? You're unmuted, but something happened. Did you knock a cord out? I still can't see. I can't hear you. How strange. Try one more time. I'm gonna mute, and now I'm gonna unmute you. So there you are, but let's unmute you. Unmute. Okay, now can you talk? Will you just refresh your page? Sorry, dude. What happened? No, this is no good. Oh, are you signing off with no sound? You gotta tell us in the chat room then what happened, because I can't hear you. Nobody can hear you. Okay. And this is what they call COVID entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. COVID entertainment. We're doing our best. You know how it is. And the good news is everybody's very flexible. Murray, are you there? It was just getting good. Are you there? Murray, he's messed up. By the way, Murray keeps texting me, and I'm like, Murray, why? Not now, but I like today.
Test.
There you are.
What happened?
Texting me is because he just wants to talk to somebody who's not in his family. That's what he told me. Anyway, we're gonna come to Story Smash in a minute, but you guys right now, Murray, Valeriano, go, yeah.
All right, Christine, where did I lose you guys?
Well,
where did I lose you?
We're in the valley, we're in the car.
We're in the car.
Yeah.
We're heading towards US. All right, recap. I'll recap really quick. Start my time over.
Thank you. Oberon stepped out of the car.
Oh, all right. So we're lost. We got hit. hit the front of Oberon's car. He's pissed. We're freaking out. He gets out. He goes over to the guy's car. He starts, all I can see is Oberon just yelling at this guy. Just, this big pirate just leaning, and all of a sudden the window, the driver's side window comes down, and Oberon pulls out his butterfly knife. Now, I don't know if you know what a butterfly knife is, but a butterfly knife is, and I'll try and describe it. It's like two handles with a blade in the middle, and you do this little fancy, and then that's how they. It's great for movies, terrible for a street fight, right? So Oberon's like trying to get this knife out, and he's pulling his knife, and we're like, well, what the hell is Oberon pulling a knife for? What is going on? Then out of the passenger side window, a gun comes out. And we're like, oh shit, the dude's got a gun. So we ditch in the back of the seat, or the stern of the USS Nova, and we just hear pop, 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 and they fire like 4 shots at Oberon. We're like, holy shit, holy shit. So we pop back up, the car takes off, and Oberon's we can't see him anywhere. He's nowhere to be found. We're like, oh shit, he's on the ground. Oberon got shot, man. So we climb out of our car, we run, we stop, we turn around and the car stops, and he backs up about, 50 yards, and then slams on the brake, and the back window comes out, and the pistol comes out again, and pop, pop, pop. He pops like 3 shots at us. We hit the fucking ground. We're on the ground, so the car takes off, takes out. We're like, whoa, we're freaking out, man. Like, our adrenaline is pumping through our veins. We're like, where the fuck is Oberon? We got to get Oberon. So we find Oberon. He's cowered down. Coward's probably the wrong word, but he's hunched down below the front tire, dodging these bullets like we were. And we're like, holy shit, man, what the fuck is happening? So we get up. It's like, are you okay, Oberon? You okay? You okay? Murray, you okay? Good, good. Andy, you okay? Good. Anybody get shot? Sean, you all right? Everybody's good. All right, we're all good. This is fine. All of a sudden, we hear an engine just kind of slowly creeping up on us. And the car turned around and came back. And it had its lights off. And it's creeping up on us. And we're standing there in the middle of South Central LA in the street next to a Chevy Nova. Now, remember, this is the early 90s. So this is the height of the grunge scene. We're on our way to a grunge concert. So, I've got long hair at the time. I'm into The Cure, so I'm wearing black tights and a black t-shirt. I got a goatee. Sean is Native American. He's got this amazing black straight hair with turquoise necklaces and all this Native American bracelets. And Andy's got a ponytail and boots and ripped up shorts. And we're all standing there with Oberon, and they pull up and they hit their high beams on us to what I could only imagine it looked like 4 pirates. Just 4 pirates standing in the middle of fucking downtown LA. And they stare at, and we're staring them down, and they're staring us down. And I don't know who they were. I never saw them. I don't know if they were MS-13. I don't know if they're the Latin Street Kings. I don't know if they were Crips, Bloods. All I know is they have no problems shooting at people, and they are badasses. But they know this: you never mess with pirates. And they backed up, turned around, took off. Thanks for listening. Sorry about the technical problems.
Oh my God! Holy Toledo! Wow.
I looked up Oberon tonight when I thought of this story.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, that's scary as hell, man.
Should I show his picture?
Yeah, of course.
Am I breaking anybody? By the way, just totally, this dude was super cool. He looked like he could rip your limbs, but the dude was super cool. Here's a recent picture of him. I don't know if I can.
Let's see. Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? Murray Valeriano, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
I put you in the Twitter, on Twitter there in the chat. So please, you guys follow Murray, because he is damn funny and a good friend of mine and just a great person. He's also a co-host on the Rock Solid podcast that I am also a co-host on now and then. And that's a lot of fun with our buddy, Pat Francis. We love the Rock Solid podcast. Right, Murray?
Oh, absolutely. Rock Solid's fantastic. Somebody just suggested you name Oberon. You name the cat Oberon.
I didn't read that yet. Oh, speaking of which, wow, this is the part of the show you've all been waiting for. Introducing and appearing on television for the very first time, Kitty. Hi. Kitty, look. Ding, ding, ding. And there she goes. Goodbye, little kitty. I can't name her Murray, by the way, because that's Phil Rosenthal has a dog named Murray.
He does? He
Yeah.
didn't tell me that.
You can talk now. It's all free to talk. Okay, guys, let me give a big thank you to everybody tonight. Honestly, once again, a fabulous show. This is our 13th show in a row. We're going to be back. I've got the entire month of August booked, and wait till you see who's coming up. Speaking of which, this week on the Storyworthy podcast, I have legendary comedian, is it legendary comedian? Yeah, legendary comedian Tom Dreesen's on the phone. On the phone, yes, Tom Dreesen's on the phone. Hello? Hello, Tom. You're not, I can't, hello? Tom Dreesen, ladies and gentlemen. This is a man who'll be 80 years old in September, and he toured with Frank Sinatra as his opening act for 14 years. And he also toured with Sammy Davis Jr. and all those guys. So if you are out there and you love Frank Sinatra, you've got to listen to this week's show. So I'm talking to you, my family, all you Italians, all yins guys. All right, you guys, I want to thank everybody on the show tonight. Really, thank you so much. Big round of applause wherever you are. Just start clapping for Felicia Michaels, stunning and amazing. Tony Figueroa, there he comes. Oh, there's Felicia and the child of television, Tony Figueroa. Tony Figueroa and his beautiful wife, Donna Allen, who's my dream girl, darn it. And Murray Valeriano, you guys. Thank you, Murray Valeriano. Big round of applause, you guys. Big round of applause. There's still a bunch of people here. We're going to head into Story Smash.
I place my own bets and I make my own deals. So if you're following me, you better make clear, yeah. Hey, hey, hey. If you're looking for heaven, baby, the line forms to the rear, and you can follow me, follow me. I'll take you down to the river. Follow me, follow me. I'll keep you silent.
Thanks for joining us on the